A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the state of school boards in Ontario. Boy, I read this morning in the Globe, and we've got another school board that has decided to go out and spend money completely tone deaf. And I don't care if they're in surplus. I don't care if they've got the money. I really don't care if they've figured out a way to pay for this, but it was a junket to Italy to buy art for a new Catholic school. And John, I don't understand what goes on around a boardroom meeting where somebody says, I know it was a bad idea for those people, but for us, we can justify $145,000 for a 5-day trip to Northern Italy to buy art for a new school.
Well, I'm going to echo what I said last week or the week before when Tim and I were talking about specifically about the history of the school boards in this province and how they operate. And I know that there's this idea that they are local creatures and that they respond effectively to, local concerns and school boards with students and the trustee system. But, to the broader scale, this is the sort of thing that prompts people to really question the accountability of school boards. This is the wedge that gets into people's minds when people call for the abolition of the school boards. There are just so many things that can be done using $145,000 both in the classroom or for other things. And this is exactly the kind of situation which, we saw many years ago where spending was out of control. They weren't being spent on the right things, and it provided the opposition parties with a real opportunity to go after that level of government. So I think it is tone deaf. I think it hands it right to the Conservatives that they want to use this for their own leverage. And it also reinforces the fact that there's a lot of misspending within the system that taxpayers are paying for.
Well, Kathleen, when you made the case for the trustees 2 weeks ago, aren't you getting tired of having to defend this nonsense?
I'm not going to defend this, Dave. There's no way to defend this. It's ridiculous. In 2000, when I was a school trustee, this would no more have been acceptable than it is today. So this is just not on. It's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous on two levels. I mean, it's ridiculous because of the cost, but it's ridiculous because of the substance of the trip. So to be going to Italy, as I heard someone say on the radio this morning, these people are not art experts. This is not like you've got a board full of art experts who are going to go and do something that nobody else can do. So it's ridiculous. It undermines all those arguments I made about school trustees. But the other thing it does is that it undermines the case for Catholic education in the province, because these folks were not going on an information or educational trip. They were going to buy art, and they were going to buy religious art. And so, I mean, a majority of people in Ontario don't think we should have a Catholic school system anyway. And so this just further undermines the capacity of the Catholic system to be relevant. So no defense here for any of this.
Well, and here's the problem, and I would think that even those who are in the Catholic system aren't quite sure how art, Keith, from Northern Italy is going to enhance Catholic teaching in the Catholic system.
Okay, you get a bust of the Pope. I get that. I'm pretty sure we can order one of those online. We don't need four.
Yeah, you could do the Amazon thing and have it here in like 48 hours.
Yeah, free delivery. 4 trustees going to Northern Italy. This is after the chair, and the chair, of course, is one of them. And they changed the rules just before this so they could fly business class and first class hotels and all this kind of crap. As Kathleen says, there's absolutely no defense for this. And it does. That was my first thought is, how dare you? You're just putting that whole question of Catholic school funding on the line. I mean, there's only 31% of Ontarians are Roman Catholics. We still fund a separate school system. It is really gets up a lot of people's noses. I know John Tory tried to address it to some degree, and it backlashed on him big time. But this is an issue that's going to come up again. And this is exactly the kind of reason that will bring it up. But to me, first of all, you've got $145,000. You're going over to spend, I forget how much they were going to spend just on the art. Here's an idea. How about putting some Indigenous art in that school? How about going across Canada maybe? And, as part of Truth and Reconciliation, bring some art that brings some meanings to that school. given the church's history with residential schools and everything else, this is just so wrong. Here's an opportunity they could have had. We're making a trip in Canada to buy Indigenous art and put that in our schools and teach our students about that. How about that? Instead of $145,000 for 4 people to take a trip to Northern Italy, flying business class. Holy cow. It's just mind boggling. And I know we can lead to Tim, who's going to say, well, this is why we need to get rid of these school boards.
Well, but here's
your thunder. Sorry, Tim.
That's what I was worried about. We're going to have that conversation again.
But Tim's the guy who's the parent on the parent council of a Catholic school here in Toronto. So, dance around that one for me, Tim.
Not going to dance on that. Look, I'm a product of Catholicism, proudly so. Notre Dame College School in Welland, and now I'm on the parent council of Loretto Abbey in North Toronto, and proudly so. And yeah, Catholics, we like our statues. We're into the statuary. But as Keith said, there's got to be a St. Francis of Assisi. You get a little banged up for cheaper, $145,000 from Northern Italy. By the way, St. Padre Pio Dave, he is actually the patron saint of stress relief. So
that's perfect.
Issue. That's why they're bringing him in. Look, this is it is outrageous. We have our parent council meeting next week, and I'll bring it up, and I'll bet you're gonna be really pissed off. The reasons that Premier Wynne said and Keith, that this is an embarrassment to the Catholic school system, 100%. But it does. I will reinforce. This is the third strike in 2 months for bozo behavior by school boards in the province of Ontario, Thames Valley and London, the TDSB, now the Brantford Area Catholic Board. My goodness, we should just admit that this thing is rotted, that there's some disease that exists in this infrastructure. It's not going to happen this mandate, but I'd love to see the next government take this on and say, there's got to be a better way to get more money into the classroom as opposed to the waste we're seeing in school boards.
Well, I've been at the Abbey. My wife and daughter are alumna from the Loretto Abbey, and there's some really nice art right in the Abbey itself. You might just want to offer up some of the stuff that's there. There's beautiful artwork in the chapel, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm just saying.